Thanks, Dave. Okay, good morning, everyone. This is a convening of the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. We're holding this meeting virtually, so I'll do a roll call. Good morning, Commissioner O'Brien.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning, Commissioner Hill.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning, Commissioner Skinner.
Good morning.
And good morning, Commissioner Maynard.
Good morning.
Okay, and thanks everyone for joining. We've got some agenda planning to go ahead. It's public meeting number 151. It's August 30th. Today's Wednesday, 10 a.m. start. And we've got some minutes. Commissioner Maynard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I move that the Commission approve the minutes from the August 2nd agenda setting meeting that are included in the Commissioner's packet, subject to any necessary corrections for typographical errors or other non-material matters.
Second.
Okay, any comments, edits? All set. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
Commissioner Maynard.
Aye.
And I vote yes. 5-0. Okay, we'll move right into our agenda setting. Welcome back from vacation, Todd. I hope you had a good one. So our next meeting is September 7th. And just sorry, looking at some notes, we'll start with administrative update. Anything in particular, Todd?
Nothing specific comes to mind. I'll come up with something interesting to talk about, though.
I guess that's great. To the extent you can elaborate, or commissioners, if you have anything in particular for Todd to elaborate on, that would be great too. I think I yesterday at when we spoke with Mark, Todd, I think Mark, it might be great if you do a little bit of, maybe it fits nicely into the administrative update on the activities scheduled for Responsible Gaming Month, sort of launching the conversation through an administrative update, and
Great.
then after the month is ended, doing a real report to us on it. Does that make sense?
Yep, happy to do that.
Okay, great. Okay, then we'll have minutes. You're all set, Commissioner Maynard?
Yep, all set on it.
Okay. And then I don't know where we are in terms of a legislative update at the beginning of September, Commissioner Hill and Grace.
I would always put it on, and then if there's nothing to report, we can tell you that as well.
Okay. Sound good, Grace? Okay. Regulations, Caitlin and Carrie and Todd.
We don't anticipate having any sports wagering regulations on the 7th.
Okay, any other?
Not that I'm aware of, but someone
Okay.
else can jump in if there is.
And then we turn to Director Ban. You've got some items for us for
Yes,
September
we do.
7th.
We do have some quarterly reports, and I think we have the return of the Penn House rules, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Andrew?
Yes, Penn House rules, just a follow-up from last week's single house rule that was not approved.
Okay, do you want to go through all the items, please, Grace? Oh, Grace, did you have a question?
I believe you all have a waiver request from Better as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's already on the list, though.
So Better waiver request, yeah. And what was
Yep.
the other one, the follow-up? I'm sorry, couldn't quite hear.
Yeah, that was Penn's house rules.
Penn's
That-
house rules,
yeah.
yeah. There was a,
It's a-
and then we're scheduled for 3 quarterly reports. Is that still working? I know Crystal's off this week. Does that still work for you, Bruce?
Yes,
And
that should be, yep, that should be it for the 7th.
Okay. Commissioners, is there anything that you want to ask of Bruce and team to pivot with respect to the sports wagering reports? Are you comfortable how they're going so far? Commissioner O'Brien? You're okay with it? Yeah.
I'm very,
okay.
very comfortable with what we've heard so far and the format in which we've heard it.
Excellent. Same with you, Commissioner Maynard, Commissioner Skinner?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. And then we'll see if there's anything else that comes up, Bruce. Okay, turning to item number 6, Commissioner Maynard and Dr. Lightfoot. Hi, Alex.
That's going to be ready. Todd and Dr. Lightbound got me a document a long time ago. I just need to get it back to them to give to Grace to circulate in the packet, but it's ready to go.
Okay. Great. Then we have the next item, Alex, on the Racehorse Development Fund for the drivers and the jockeys.
Yeah, we may want to postpone that. You know, the Attorney General is looking into the program. Commissioner Hill may want to talk to that.
I
Can you
can just,
Yeah,
I think-
elaborate a bit.
so one of the horsemen actually contacted the AG's office regarding some concerns. So the AG's office is looking into it. They've been in contact with our staff to figure out how the funds are allocated, things of that sort. So if we can have just a little bit of time to see what the AG's office ends up coming up with in getting back to them, I think that would be helpful to us.
Is there any way for the other 4 of us to know exactly what was raised with the AG's office? I'd like to know what it was, actually.
Yeah, this is an item that's come before us, so this is
Right.
news.
So it's the same issues that were brought before us, they brought before the AG's office. Is that
Remember-
accurate, Dr. Lightbaum?
Correct.
Todd, do you want to elaborate a bit, please? Thanks.
Sure. You recall there were a couple of letters we received from, well, there were 2 jockeys in particular, retired jockeys. I think one of them actually wrote a letter, and one we've just heard from over the course of the past couple of years. And they raised a couple of issues. The first is the payments that you remember in the Racehorse Development Fund statute. So I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. It's like section, is it 60, 23K, section 60? There's a provision in the 3 buckets. You recall there's the 80%, the 16%, and then the 4%. In the 4% section of the statute, there's language in there that says that on an annual basis, the commission shall determine what percentage of that 4% shall go to the jockeys for health and welfare, essentially. And apologize again, I don't have the language right in front of me, but that's essentially what it is. And you may recall that the commission did that, I think in 2021, if I'm, or is that right? And that's what this issue was that's on the agenda here, number 7, that we're talking about, that we were planning to ask the commission to review that issue again to decide whether and how much of that 4% should go to the jockeys. And the individuals have advanced a position that the commission has not done that properly over the years. And so we did have a conversation with an assistant AG about that, and he's aware. We've sent him all the materials. He had some other questions about the Racehorse Development Fund and how it works and whatnot. So we just spent some time with him talking about over the years how the split has been calculated and determined, how the horse racing committee works, and things along those lines. So that was the first issue. The jockeys have also raised some other.
Could we pause on the first one? Because I'm hearing that we have an annual obligation by statute. Is that
That's
true?
right. That's what it said,
So
yeah.
We acted in 2021. We should have been acting in 2022 and it's now 2023. So I'm concerned about not taking action. If the AG's office eventually decides that we should alter something, we can retroactively, correct any mistake we made. But if they're not getting their percentage somehow,
Right.
Commissioner O'Brien,
Yeah, I do. So my first question really is jurisdictionally, what's the AG's jurisdiction to stop us from fulfilling our statutory mandates? So I'm not really keen on the idea of us deferring what looks like we're a little late in fulfilling. So I don't necessarily want to delay this. And I'm like you, Madam Chair, which is if they come back and say that they have the jurisdiction to tell us we're structurally doing something incorrect, that's fine, we can adjust it, but I'm not inclined to hold off on this right now.
Not if we have a statutory obligation.
Right.
And I'm the first person to say, hey, if we made a mistake, we'll fix it. But
Right.
to the extent that they're not getting something because we're waiting, and I'm with Commissioner O'Brien, I'm not necessarily saying they don't have jurisdiction, but I think we can run on parallel tracks, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah,
What do you
That's
think?
what I think too.
Commissioner
fine.
just wondered if Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Skinner, Commissioner
That's
Maynard?
fine.
Thanks, Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Skinner, Commissioner Maynard, what are you thinking?
I'm good with that, with moving on a parallel track.
Commissioner
Yeah,
Maynard?
I want to fulfill any obligations that's due under this commission and fix anything that needs to be fixed.
Well, I
Yeah.
think just by way of background, Madam Chair and Commissioners, we did post on our website a request for comments on this particular issue. And I'm not sure whether we've received any specific to this issue. There has been a request to allow the jockeys to speak directly to the commission. Last time we did this, I don't believe they were allowed to address the commission directly.
Or they would always be allowed.
Okay.
They'd always be allowed. It may not have gotten to me, but as in my capacity, I don't think I've ever said no. So commissioners, I would turn to you. If the jockeys want to speak to us, do we want to hear from them?
I certainly would want to hear from them. And I
Yeah.
think the letter for that request came out, and Alex, please correct me if I'm wrong, and it came to all of us, I believe, about a month ago, maybe even a month and a half ago.
They've reached out certainly by emails, and I think I always have forwarded anything, Commissioner Hill, to Todd and company. So, but I think it might even be a couple of times, maybe. And somehow if they made the request and it didn't get to us, it might have been because of virtual. I know, in public sessions, there's this notion that they can't, unless I think the chair says yes. And if anybody, unless it's really inappropriate, I don't think we've ever said no. So I'm all for hearing from them. And Dr. Lightbound, how do you feel about that?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine with them speaking directly. I think they've requested it, and they can go ahead and speak.
Excellent.
So we can let them know that they'll be afforded an opportunity to speak. If we're going to keep this on for the 7th, we can make sure that they're aware of that. And by the way, kind of associated with that is, I assume, an opportunity for the NEHBPA to speak and for the standard bread owners to speak, in that the funds come from that 4%. So it does affect them as well. So if to get the full picture, if they're interested, it may make sense to allow them to have a word too.
Commissioners, this is not uncomplicated. This is a good time to ask for what you'd like from our team to help us in this decision making. If there's an idea that we aren't getting it quite right, we want to work to getting it right. So
I remember us having a number of meetings on this topic the last time.
that's
So
right.
what would be helpful is if someone could pull up the materials and email us the timestamp on the meeting where we did vote in 21, so we could review it. I think that would be helpful for me.
Yeah, I can send that.
Great, thanks.
I think I already had sent it to Kathy and Brad earlier on when we first started getting the letters this year.
Great,
Thanks.
thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Lightbound.
And then I'll extend the invitation to speak to the two jockeys and then the HBPA and the Jockeys Guild as well.
Yeah, all stakeholders, right? I don't think we want to leave anybody out. So Dr. Lightbound, I think we're dependent upon you making sure it's as inclusive as possible so that
Sure.
we don't inadvertently leave somebody out.
Yeah, Madam Chair, and to that point, I think September 7th, and where there's a holiday in between now and then, might be a little tight for guests to appear on Thursday. And so if that's the case, I just ask that we consider postponing that discussion because I do think it's important to give each of the representatives an opportunity to speak. And I would hate to have them decline simply because they're not available on such short notice.
What I'd like to do is keep it on, and then if they indicate they need more time, then we move it, because it sounds like we're a little remiss in dealing with this anyway. So I agree with you, Commissioner Skinner, but what I'm wondering is, since they've been asking to speak, they may be fully ready to do so.
Yeah, and I'm with you. It's just that one group. I think the racehorse. I'm not sure. I don't know what group you were referencing initially who had submitted requests to speak, but that's just one group. I think, Todd, you mentioned two other groups. So I think we're on the same page, Brian. We can leave it on with an invitation to all three groups to speak. But if there is an issue with either one of them, given the short notice, then I think we should consider postponing the discussion altogether.
Yeah, it's two individual jockeys that have requested to speak, and then the groups the organizations that are involved in this matter are the Jockey Guild and the HBPA. I'll offer it also to the Standardbred group, but it's not their program is set up differently, so they may be fine with just submitting the written notes that they already have. And then we'll just figure out an order that they should speak in. And I don't know if the commission wants a time frame that I should give them.
I think we'll probably want, I know that sometimes we've had, there's time issues that arise. I want to be generous in this case, Dr. Lightbound, given that, we are a little bit behind. But you and Grace can coordinate that maybe in advance. I think I'd like to get legal to help give the framework and in writing, it's always helpful. What we've done in the past, why, and then, because I do remember these being over a series of meetings, Commissioner O'Brien. Commissioner Hill, were you there for that 21 vote? I cannot remember that. I feel like you might have been.
I'm not sure that I was. I came in September.
Yeah, I know.
Late September, and I don't remember that, to be honest with you.
Because I'm trying to think if you were there with Commissioner Cameron. I'm trying to think, Dr. Lightbound, do you remember if it were the four of us with Commissioner Cameron was involved? We'll have to look back.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but it'll, I'm thinking that the final meeting was in October, but I could be wrong. And when I send you that link, everybody can see,
That's great. Yeah, I think I did not open it. My apologies, Dr. Lightbound. Okay. All right, so we keep it on, and in the meantime, we probably should be kept apprised of the AG's office's increase. Right, Commissioner Hill?
I would just add, I'm not sure that it's like a formal inquiry per se, like an open investigation. I think it was an AAG who was asking some questions about it. So we've been in communication with him and the jockeys, so.
Okay, and then the second, because I paused on that piece, and then you were going to the second part of the issue.
Right, and Alex, feel free to jump in on this if I'm trying to remember off the top of my
Yeah,
head what the issues are. Oh, sorry. I was going to mention, it's just, there was one issue they had with the Jockeys Guild withholding taxes and not withholding taxes and things along those lines. I mean, I'll speak for myself. My position has been that is not really within the commission's jurisdiction to address whether the Jockeys Guild withholds taxes or not from certain payments to jockeys. It's our understanding, based on the letter the jockey sent us, that they've been in touch with the Department of Revenue. And I think that is the appropriate entity to make those kinds of, or offer those kinds of advisories. And I believe they've declined to do so. So I don't think it would be for us to step in and tell the Jockeys Guild whether they should or should not withhold for tax purposes. But that was one of the other issues that the jockey raised in their letter. Sorry, Alex, I think I cut you off there.
Yeah, no, that was the issue, and whether if the jockeys provide receipts for medical or welfare things they've had done, then the guild has not been reporting it as income. If they don't provide receipts, the guild still gives them the money, but then they also have to do, I think it's a 1099, and then the jockeys would have to pay income taxes on it. So the guild is getting another legal opinion on it. They had one from a while ago and they're redoing that. The AG's office is aware of that. And like Todd said, we've stayed out of that. It's to the extent that we're not the experts on the tax law. And I've reached out to the jockeys and told them that if they have something in writing from another state agency that says how it should be done, to please let us know. We'd be glad to look at it.
Derek, you came on. Did you want to add anything on this discussion? It's complicated, as I mentioned. I'm recalling.
It's complicated, and I was only on because I was on the meetings with Todd and Alex, and I did have a chance to talk to Commissioner Hill about the last piece that Todd just talked about, and hearing the discussion and what was brought up, it seems like what the guild is doing is correct. If you're making a payment and there's no reimbursement sitting there, how can it be a reimbursement that's not taxable? So you'd have to give tax, you'd have to take taxes out, and then the jockeys could always get it back if they had receipts that show there was an offset. But most of those plans, you think about our own plans, unless it's an eligible expense, you can't even tap into those deferred comp plans that aren't being taxed without the receipts. Otherwise, it is an income payment. So it seems at face value that it's accurate, but I don't have all the details of their plan, whether it's a pension, whether it's a health benefit, whether it's a reimbursement for just medical expenses. Each one of these carries a different tax determination. So that's why we're not stepping into it. We don't have all the details to make a overarching decision. We don't see their plans, and this is better handled either by a CPA or by the Mass DOR.
Commissioners, I don't know if we want to ask our team to memorialize this in writing to them so that they understand that we really aren't going to be available to help them on the tax issue, like write a letter or something. And they may be hearing this today, but have we responded in any formal fashion so that they know that there's just not really a solution for, unless commissioners you think otherwise than what we've been hearing from Todd and Derek, that tax issues are.
I think it might make sense so that there's, because I think sometimes the frustration, my memory of some of these requests are the lack of response getting back from different associations. So if there's a short memorialization from us that says that's not within the jurisdiction of the commission, at least they can check that off their list.
Yeah, a very professional, polite
You
letter,
know,
because I think it's the right answer, right? Commissioner Hill?
you know how I feel about getting back to people, so a letter back, I think, is appropriate, and I am in full agreement with what Derek just outlined.
Commissioner Maynard?
Yeah, I agree, and I think it helps frame the discussion going forward on actually addressing issues that we have jurisdiction to address.
Mayor, good
And
point.
just to be clear, I believe Alex has spoken to this gentleman, so it's not like we've left him hanging or anything like that. But I take the point that we will respond to him in writing, but it's not like we haven't responded.
No, I know Dr. Lightbound is so good. It's not that, but I think it might, to Commissioner Maynard's point, it might, help them not use any of their time in front of us to address that one. Just, if we can make it clear that we aren't going to entertain it because we really aren't the right agency. Okay, great. And we'll start this discussion on September 7th, and then Grace, we may end up rolling over, but I think it probably deserves to probably be on two of our meetings. It's likely to take that time. All right, then moving on to number 8, unless there are other, Commissioner Skinner, Commissioner Maynard, Commissioner Hill, Commissioner O'Brien, anything on that? Okay, so now moving to 8, we've got a quarterly report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. As you may recall, we pushed this out to September to, Dan Miller had asked us to do that because he was on sabbatical for the month of August. I think we're probably going to have to go out to the 21st when I realize the end of the month is tomorrow. And I would imagine he's probably not going to be back until Tuesday. There wouldn't be time to get materials together for the meeting on the 7th. So I think we should probably push that out to the 21st.
Any questions for Joe? Okay, then we move right on to, we had this on, Heather, Grace reminded me, so that's good news. So there you go. The PPC floor expansion and the beverage license.
We did, thanks, Chair, and we are going to be ready to go forward on the 7th. Burke and his team will present on the floor plan expansion. We've been in close communication with PPC folks, and Kara will be presenting and asking for a vote on the beverage license amendment piece.
And is Kara, I don't want to miss her.
I don't know if Kara's in the actual invite on the meeting in particular. The other thing, Chair, if possible, we'd be asking to go as early on the agenda as possible. Understanding there may be other considerations, but just wanted to put that request out there.
Okay. Then you're all set for those two. Then item number 12.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think you skipped over Mark and item number 9.
Oh, I'm sorry. I went right down to my red check mark. Sorry there, Director Randa Linden. Thanks, Grace, for keeping me on the ball.
Hello.
Thank you.
Yes, we are set. There's a few changes to the research agenda that we wish to propose for the commission to consider.
Okay. I should be asking for time allotments here. We're not going to have a quarterly report. The jockey will be good length. What are you thinking for time on that, Mark?
Probably about 15 minutes.
How many?
15.
15, thank you. Okay. And then the 2 items for PPC, and then we're back to the search firm and the screening committee. Now turn to Derek and team. I don't know if Dave Muldrew is on.
I don't know if Dave's on, but John's here as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and John and Beniswa have pulled together and revised the cover memo. I think that was in an earlier version of the packet with just a little bit of history of how this came forward. We're going to be getting that over to Grace, hopefully end of day today. And then you all had the material items, the meeting materials that were in the last meeting packet that should be carried over into this one because we didn't get a chance to take up this item. But we'll have a cover memo as well as those meeting materials. And I think we'll be ready for a discussion with the commission.
John, thanks for the good work. I don't know if I see.
Dave is not on. He has a personal appointment.
Yeah, I don't know if I see Benicia. But anyway, thank you to both of you. Commissioners, is there anything that you want for extra guidance on the document that we reviewed for the last meeting, but we had to roll that item over? Is there anything if we have the revised cover memo, you can be all set? Okay, thanks, Commissioner Hill. I got one thumbs up and I appreciate that. Thank you. You're all set. Okay, good. All right, and then we'll have the screening committee. We'll probably need a vote for both of those. Anything else for September 7th? Thanks, John.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing else. Okay, then we'll move on to our next September meeting date. And that's September 21. We'll have an administrative update. Commissioners always know that this is an opportunity for, if there's an issue that you'd like to share or have a team member that you're working with share, this is the best opportunity to use this administrative update. And then we would also, of course, be able to include the specifics, which we always like to do on the agenda to the extent we can predict them. Okay, we'll have minutes. Commissioner Maynard, you'll be all set.
Yes.
We'll keep the legislative update on in case there's some news. And I don't know if we anticipate regs at that point.
We are anticipating 2 new sports wagering related regulations. We don't even have numbers or titles for them yet, but one would relate to sort of the shutdown of operations if an operator needed to shut down, and another would relate to simulcasting relocation requests, which was just recently allowed by the legislature.
And then we'll keep sports wagering on, Bruce. Thanks, Caitlin. All right, I see Joe turning off his audio. What's up? And Bruce, your list will come, I know, through Andrew and Crystal to Grace. Joe?
Yes, Madam Chair, we will need some time to have further discussions on the modifications to the Community Mitigation Fund. We expect that we will have, a draft of a formula for distribution of funds, draft policy questions, and an early draft of guidelines.
Todd, yesterday you raised that there might be some extra legal work that needs to be done. Are you all in coordination for, I start with Mary, Lily, and Joe's timeline as working with that proposal?
Yes, we're aware of that. We'll be ready to go.
Because when do we have to actually vote on it, Joe?
Well, ultimately, the final vote will take place towards the end of November. We expect that you'll vote on a draft set of guidelines at the end of October, and we'll go out for a public hearing and so on, and then make any final modifications to the guidelines with a vote probably at your second meeting in November.
Yeah.
And again, if there were any kind of hiccups that didn't allow that to happen, we would probably need to vote on essentially rolling out with our current guidelines as they are, so we don't miss our cycle.
Miss the cycle. Okay, got it. All right. So just in keeping in mind that, Todd, I know that timeline is a rigorous one. Okay, anything else for September 21st? Oh,
Yes.
there we go. Dr. Lightbound. Oh, sorry, Derek. I don't know who is first.
Go ahead, Derek.
Okay. So FY23 closeout for that meeting. Accounts payable ends on September 1st. Any adjustments that are made to the accounting system probably won't be ready for the 7th. But that's why I'm saying the 21st.
So we'll start there. Okay. And then Dr. Lightbound, then I'll turn back to sports wagering. Okay, Dr. Lightbound.
Steve O'Toole's feeling up to bringing forward those five items he had to place under review. It's 2 capital improvement requests for reimbursements, 2 promo fund requests for reimbursements, and then a capital fund request regarding the paddock. I'll get the exact wording for Grace, but if we could put those on for the 21st.
I'm glad he's feeling better.
Yes.
Good.
Crystal asked me to put a branding waiver request on too, and she'll provide Grace with the details when she gets back from vacation.
Great, thank you. And so we would at least have that item that we know will be on, and then as things come up.
Yes.
We have in between an agenda setting on September 13th. Okay, so that's helpful, Bruce.
Yes.
All right. Anything else? We'll probably save some space, Grace, for the continuing discussion on jockeys, and then we've got the MGM's report. So one thing, a couple of things that for my fellow commissioners that you're working on as we go through either this date or next month's dates. Commissioner Skinner, I know that you've been working on the diversity audit. I don't know when there may be an opportunity for you to report out on that and with the team members that you're working with. I don't know if that's an October or a later date in the year.
Yeah, we can give that some thought. I'd really like to defer to the team. And so we'll plan to give an update as to when we think the matter might be ripe for an update for the full commission. And plan to do that at the next agenda setting, if that's okay.
Yeah, we'll just put it under review at the next one. I wanted you to know, I've been thinking, I know it's excellent work. And so, you know, when you're ready, of course. And then the other item that's come up, and I really appreciate the work that you're doing. I don't know if it will be when it will be a matter for the commission would be Commissioner Skinner and Commissioner Maynard. You're working with Kara on the RFI for the licensing management system, and that's great work too. So I don't know, that would be in the future at some point. Heather, I'm sure Kara is going to want to update us on that good work, and I just want to acknowledge my fellow commissioners' work on it as well.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think we could keep it under review for now, but certainly I can move in with her on it.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you for those efforts. Then September 21, nothing else. All right, so we don't have any October dates. We have a September 27th is agenda setting. And then we thought we would look at our calendar for October. And Grace, do you want to go through those dates?
Certainly, I have dates through Thanksgiving. If we want to run through those dates. So just continuing on from our next scheduled meeting, which is agenda setting on the 27th. We would do a public meeting on Thursday, October 5th. We would do agenda setting the following Wednesday, October 11th. Followed by a public meeting the next Thursday, October 19th. Agenda setting October 25th.
And
So I
then
think, Grace, did you say, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, did you say October 5th for a public meeting?
Yeah, that would be the next, if we continued in our order.
the 2-week cadence.
If there's any flexibility, I am not available on the 5th. I'm actually not available the 4th, 5th, or 6th. And so the Monday or Tuesday, if there's any flexibility to hold the public meeting then, I'd appreciate that. Otherwise, you can proceed without me.
I'm open on the 2nd and 3rd.
If that, I can check in with Trudy as well. Trudy, would the second Monday, the 2nd work? I know the 3rd and 4th there is South Table Game Conference.
Right. I can do the 2nd.
I'm available 2nd or 3rd.
Yep.
I would
Alright.
come in to see, I would come in to see Sal.
Yeah, but let's let them have, let's keep our Sal time and do Monday. Does that work best? Okay.
Thank you, Madam.
Any other concerns with October?
So then, if we go,
Madam Chair,
yes,
I know you and I had talked about this yesterday, so I'll bring it up now. Any opportunities that we might be able to do a meeting out in Springfield? I don't know if October or November would be the best for that, but I just want to put it out there that I would love to do something out there. And October is a beautiful time of the year to go out to Springfield.
yes, I did convey that really smart request, and I know that we had been thinking about it. I think probably just our flood again has kind of put us off on our planning a little bit. But Grace, you started to look at the calendar for that possibility. It takes a little bit of advanced work.
Yep. For October, I think the best date would be the 19th. Thursday, October 19th.
Yeah, so that's one. So we could explore with the Springfield stakeholders, Commissioner Hill, to see if the mayor would actually be available, because I know he likes to make it to our meetings, and other stakeholders out there, including.
Yes, and I was wondering if maybe through Joe, maybe we can tour something out there while we're out there in regards to community mitigation funds. Just a thought.
Yeah, we've been looking at that. We've been looking at trying to schedule something out west for the commissioners.
I think Commissioner Hill was interested in exploring the property across the street, and if our meeting goes a little bit long, we might, have some time restrictions. Is that tourable, or is it too much under construction, Joe?
No, nothing's too much under construction.
There we go.
I'd have to coordinate with the city. Obviously, the city, this is not a city project. It's a private developer, so we would need to coordinate with the city and through the developer to see what we could arrange for a tour.
So that was one project he happened to mention, right, Commissioner Hill? I know Commissioner O'Brien and I saw it early on. Fascinating history.
No, I'd love to see what the current status is.
Yeah. Okay, and then
Just for historical purposes, because it was done before my time, Commissioner Skinner's and Commissioner Maynard's time. We gave community mitigation funds toward that project.
No, not directly towards that project. That was the
More
$16
complicated.
million came from MGM towards that project.
Okay.
So we're actually providing funds for improvements to Court Street directly in front of the project. In fact, that's a project that is just gone out to bid and is been awarded by the city. I don't know how much activity will have taken place by the start of October. I think, it's starting to get a bit late in the construction season, although some work might be done.
So we helped with infrastructure.
Yeah.
But it's also MGM, part of their bid was they were going to be, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but they were also going to be building other housing. And there was a whole trade-off in terms of how they were going to do it. And could they put the monies toward this project rather than sort of going somewhere else to build? And so we, as a body, had to sort of give approval to amending and allowing them to satisfy that requirement by putting their money into this project. And so it's where our fingers are a little more in this. And it might be nice to get an update for the commissioners that weren't here, because it's a really creative funding mechanism in terms of the public-private partnership that went into this.
Yeah.
Mass housing really drove the solution. Yeah.
I could write a dissertation on what went on with this project over the many years.
We may ask for it.
That's very helpful, because I wasn't totally aware of where our connection is with that project, but thank you for the update. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Maynard?
I was just going to ask Commissioner Hill and maybe Grace, I assume that the invitations would include all the local legislators and so forth too, right? Pretty wide net.
City council members, they often, for MGC sponsored events, they all often, show up, as we've seen in the past, Commissioner Maynard. I think we can do a really good job of extending notice of our meeting to make sure that they can be there, because I don't recall the few meetings that we had up there that necessarily the counselors were there, but I know the mayor typically, if he were able, would make his way over. And of course, we'd like to be able to have something on the agenda that maybe President Chris Kelly can speak to too. So we'll be thoughtful about that. But yeah, I think that's a really good point. If we give enough advance notice, they may be able to be there, right? And we want that.
May I ask one more question, Madam Chair?
Yes.
So when we have an in-person meeting like this proposed meeting on the 19th, is there opportunities for the public to speak to us? Should they have any concerns or questions for us? I know locally we have this thing called citizens queries where, people can just ask a question. We may not be able to address it at that time. I'm embarrassed to say this, but it's fact. I have not been in a public meeting that's been live except for the Everett meeting in Hardwick, but those were specific meetings to a specific subject matter, where this is an open meeting. So I'm just curious what the process is.
So that was a public hearing, and so what you're talking about is a public hearing. We did do a public meeting live at the State House. We did that one. I just want that was a public meeting.
Thank you for the reminder. Yeah.
That was a meeting to us. So this would be a public meeting, but we could mark it up too to have a public hearing component and allow for Springfield folks to speak to us. That's something we can talk about right now if you want to explore that, commissioners, either at the beginning or in the middle, wherever. I'm
not sure that I was a proponent of it. I was just wondering what the process for a meeting is once we're public. That's all. I'm not suggesting it. I just want to, in my mind, understand how the meeting would be run. That's all.
It would be run as a public meeting unless we did something different. And if there were, an individual who'd show up, that would be that kind of inquiry that would happen where somebody would say somebody wants to speak, and my instinct would be to allow it. But if we had 50 people come up and not planned on it, that wouldn't be very organized. So it's more organized, and if we want that input. Commissioners, what do you think?
I'm all for hearing input when there's a topic. My concern is, does it get too unwieldy if we don't plan accordingly? So if there's something on there, absolutely. But in terms of like general open mic, I don't think it makes for efficiency to do that.
And I tend to agree with you, Commissioner O'Brien. Again, just was wondering what the process would be.
As to specific Springfield projects right now, I think Mark Vanderlinden's research agenda has reached out there. And then, of course, our community mitigation work has reached out there. I don't know if there will be on for that date a particular item that we're voting on, but we can think about that. And then as we go in our next couple of agenda settings, see if we want to offer opportunity for a hearing. And then we'll also think about opportunity for a tour. All right. So right now you've got that October date. Can we just also look at the
Madam
November
Chair?
dates? Yes.
Madam Chair, I just want you to know that Tom has his hand up and maybe he wanted to add something to the conversation.
Thank you. Thanks. It's really helpful. Thank you for that. Hi, Mills. Good morning.
Hi, sorry, Chair. I just wanted to take the commissioner's temperature. Operationally, I think the public knows quite well that the commission live streams our meetings for transparency, so folks can attend who can't come. But obviously, a offsite meeting of the commission does add additional operational challenges. So if this is something that we would like live streamed, I think we need to get to work on planning with that with our external vendor yesterday. So if, just taking the temperature of the commissioners, if this is something that we will have live streamed, or if this will be something that is going to be live, and if folks would like to come, they have to be there live, just for planning purposes, that would be helpful.
So in the past, we've had meetings, Mills out in Springfield. I think I attended maybe 3. Commissioner O'Brien, maybe you've attended more, but Charles River did provide services for us out there, and we used space at the convention center. So there's a little bit of a blueprint available. Whether Charles River, I get your, hoping.
Well, we have to see if they're still under contract with us is one of the other things. So I'll double check with John Scully, but.
Well, that's actually an important question, because I think we want to have those services available to us so that we can be nimble, like we've been in the State House, and now we want to be at the. So if those services are not available, that would be news to me. If we have an alternative, maybe it's not Charles River.
I will double check. Obviously, if it is Charles River, their schedule will have to come into it too. They are a relatively small team, but I will check in.
Grace may have something up her sleeve too.
The Mass Mutual Center as well, where we would host this, I'm sure could handle whatever we needed. Assuming they're available as well, of course, their schedule will have to factor into this. We'll have to reach out to them to check space availability and whatnot, but.
So, and if it turns out that we had to go later because of that, we could go into November. Commissioner Hill, just things are a little bit more funky weather-wise. So, all right, thanks. So in terms of November, Grace put some dates. You want to go through those as well? Because I think there might be a decision-making point. Thanks.
Yep. So if we continued on following an October 25th agenda setting, we would have a public meeting on November 2nd, an agenda setting meeting on November 8th, a public meeting on November 16th. The following week would be Thanksgiving, so I would probably recommend skipping that week for agenda setting unless something came up. And then we would move to a public meeting on November 30th.
Commissioners, do you want to have an earlier in the week agenda setting, or are you fine skipping it? And to the team, to Todd, how do you feel about that?
I think we probably have enough agenda setting meetings that if we needed to just try to plan ahead around it, that would work. But if folks are inclined to do it earlier in the week, that works for me, certainly.
Because otherwise we'd only have one that month agenda setting meeting. Commissioners?
I'm fine either way, Madam Chair. I could do at the beginning of the week or skip.
Same, I'm
Sure.
fine either way, but my preference is to hold it, but earlier in the week. But if the majority decides to just forego it altogether, I'm okay with that.
Chair, I'd like to flag something for you for that week if possible.
Sure.
We would like to be coming for the commission for the EBH Realty REIT presentation on the full investigation at some point when it works for the commission, if possible during that week. So I just wanted to make sure that was on your
Thanksgiving week?
No, it'd be the week of the 13th of November.
Oh, well, we can, wait, okay, we'll go through just items. I'm just right now figuring out agenda setting for the week of Thanksgiving. And then we'll go through real quick, outstanding items. So let's put at least a hold on either Monday or Tuesday, Grace, maybe for agenda setting. All right. And then, so that puts us through November. Commissioners, for your planning purposes, we'll try to stick to our every 2 week cadence. You know, we have more licensees, so there's more items to be heard on. And so we'll just have to stay nimble to make sure that we can accommodate all the team's needs and be timely with our stuff. So thanks. All right, so now real quick, because I know we've got our other meeting. I'll just go back right now to Heather. So it's a little bit further, but the week of November.
Yeah, it would be the week of November 13th, Chair. That's when we're looking to have the adjudicatory hearing. I just wanted to flag it because I know there's been discussion about what's happening that week.
So that would be the public meeting on November 16th. Did you say public meeting, agenda or adjudicatory
hearing?
Okay.
So we can schedule that, I think, separate and apart from the public meeting, right? Okay, so I'll have you and Trudy and Grace coordinate with Heather on that. Okay, but that's an adjudicatory hearing on the REIT. All right. Okay, so under review, we're going to keep that under review.
Yeah.
Compliance under review. Commissioner O'Brien?
Yeah, some of us are meeting to touch base after Labor Day on it. So maybe the next meeting we'll have a better sense of timing.
Yeah, I think I'd love to have a conversation with Commissioner O'Brien just in terms of some legal questions that get raised. So
yeah, and I raised that with the team. So I'm the only commissioner who's meeting with staff because you had, I know, voiced that interest before we sort of bring it forward beyond that. So this is a real basic touch base because since Jack Flynn left, we haven't circled back on it yet. So
okay. HCA compliance, that's I think
that's ongoing, yeah, so still under review.
Okay. And then the requests, we've talked about that on the RHDF, the 90-day audit.
We have all the reports in. IT and I are getting some clarification on some of what was reported on and kind of clearing up what needs to be reported on more thoroughly with these things. So we should have the full answer in a couple of weeks, I would think. I'm working with Christian on this.
Okay, good. So we'll keep it under review until you have a little bit more certainty.
Yeah, they're just not all the reports are where they need to be yet.
I understand. Okay. And then we've got Dr. Andrews. Good morning, Bonnie.
Good morning. Those economic reports are remaining under review.
Okay. And you're going to be looking for fall dates. Now you have some dates to work with. So
yes,
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and then request from, we've got that now under on for 21st, I believe. And then that restriction by operator, Director Band.
They could actually be ready by near the end of September, but they're not complete yet. So hopefully it will be coming for you.
Next agenda setting, you can let us know. Good.
Yes.
Cashless. Heather?
It looks like we're hoping to have a demo for the commission, Chair, at the end of October. That's just an update.
Do you want us to put it on for one of the dates? Does
I
that
think
help,
for the
or
moment, we'll keep it under review. But in the demo obviously isn't as part of the public meeting, but just as an update on that. I know we're working closely with Burke's team and Carrie, and Kathleen will be working with that team as well and progressing this.
Okay. That would probably be one that we wouldn't do out in Springfield, because that really is PPC centric. Okay.
Great.
All right, and then that's what I'm guessing. And then the Penn and ESPN update.
We do have that, Chair. We were actually thinking of presenting on that on the 19th of October. We can certainly see what the schedule looks like with respect to whether the meeting will be in Springfield. But that's a target for the moment.
That's the earliest we can have that report. Commissioners, I don't.
I think you'd have the report before that date, but that would be the date we were thinking that we would be presenting. It's possible we could do it the week of October 2nd. So
I guess
it
I'm just
definitely
wondering
couldn't be the week of
sensitively
the
if the
9th.
commissioners are interested in knowing more. Commissioner Hill?
Yes, Heather, if we could do that on the October 5th meeting, I would like to see it as soon as we can, and I think the public would as well.
Yeah.
So if it's possible, we could do it on October 5th, and you're comfortable doing that, I would rather have it on that date.
Yeah,
That's
I think that's fine.
Just a correction.
For that.
We moved it to October 2nd. So just make that note. That's that week. That's a Monday now. So October 2nd. I
Thank you
think,
for the reminder.
yeah. And Commissioner Hill, I appreciate that. I share that sentiment. Commissioner, you're okay with kind of having them move it up for us a little bit? Okay, I'm seeing nods. All right. Thanks. And Heather, you know, if that's doable, that would be great. Okay, anything else under review?
Madam Chair, I believe you skipped over item 6.
Oh, I know why. Because it's on for today.
We are on for today, Chair, for an executive session, and I think there will probably want to be some follow-up. I think at the moment we should keep it on for under review, and we can address it, I think, at the next agenda setting when we have a little bit better sense on timing.
Yeah. Perfect. Thanks, Grace. Anything else? And thank you for also being prepared to report on that today. All right. So commissioners, we've got we're rolling right into another public meeting. So should we take a 5-minute break? And I know we're a little bit late, but let the public know through a screen that we'll be coming right on. Does that make sense, commissioners? Into the team. All right. So it's 11:06. Should we say 11:15 start? A little bit late. Okay. Then I just need a motion to adjourn, everyone. Thanks.
Move to adjourn.
Thanks.
Second.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
Commissioner Maynard.
Aye.
I vote yes. 5-0.